facing the police every single day.
Contact the sheriff's office, contact Billy, contact Ms. Wilkie. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the internet part, okay, what if it's not a domestic? I'm a reporter for Copwatch. I had a cop's wife make a death threat against me and my family on Facebook. What can I do about that?
Contact the sheriff's office and have it investigated.
Okay, so that can be a regular investigation, not IA. It can be a regular possible criminal threat.
Well, it depends what the threat was.
Right.
It would only be internal affairs if the actual employee was involved.
He made a comment on it. He liked it.
Like I said, I can't really comment because I don't know everything that's going on. But
Right.
What I recommend is calling the local law enforcement and have it investigated.
All right, fair?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but did you talk about how you take a
Spyware, it's not considered a virus because that's how the app is meant to work. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of the other reasons why I came here too, I thought Billy was going to touch on it more. Is this kind of turning into Tom Cruise pre-crime where, you know, you're looking at different stuff and you think they might do something in the future? Because they were kind of talking about that on some of their promotion videos, you know, for the new unit. And I know that that's good and bad. I mean, as a quick example, I'll give you, I'm a recovering alcoholic. You know, people thought I was going to die drunk and on drugs. And guess what? I've been sober so long it's not even ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, you know, that's what the one reason why I came here, to see if he was going to talk about that. You know, is that kind of what's happening? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, because like people can change. I am the perfect example of that. What's your opinion?
I don't really think it's pre-crime. What we're looking to do is, you know, just like in the video, when someone commits a crime and there's a law against it, they get charged for that. A lot of crimes, when someone's arrested, we have to show the intent that they committed the crime.
Correct.
Just like the guy in the video, his intent wasn't to, you know, mess around, play around with her. His intent was to cause fear in her, and that's what cyber stalking is. That's what stalking is. You have to show that there is an intent to commit fear, and there's no legitimate purpose for what you're doing. Just like in the video, there was no legitimate purpose for the way he was acting, for what he was saying. So that's why it was stalking.
Right. Well, they mentioned in their promo video that they're actually going to start going back to older cases and looking at them to see what happened in that situation. And almost, it sounded to me like go back and almost make something out of nothing, you know, on these older cases that are already done. Like I said, that's one of the reasons why I came here tonight, because the promo video was kind of talking like it was almost pre-crimes. We're going to go back to some of the old stuff and see if we missed something, or maybe we'll make, to me it was almost like make something. I'm sure that going back to some of the old cases, yes, they might have missed something, they might get a, you know, but at the same time, going back to some of these old cases, I think they're almost, you know, starting stuff when it could be fine.
Well, I can't comment on the promo video or what they're
Right.
planning on doing with that. That would be a question you have to ask
Got it.
Charlotte County. Any other questions? All right, well, unfortunately, I've kept you guys 5 minutes past 7:30, but I appreciate you coming out.
That way? 119? Yep. Do you have to?
Yes. Did you sign up?
Yes. Yes, I have my. So if I don't have to check. Yeah, okay, there you go. Checking with that. You are correct. Sorry.
Sure. There's that. You like a blue onion complimentary?
Sure.
This is the information for tonight. This is the Alzheimer's coming up next. The Heart Walk. Lots of elder abuse things here that she's going to talk about. So,
Got it. Are they going to do anything about cyberbullying?
I'm not sure. I have not heard this speaker before.
Right.
Yes, you have a question?
Yes, are they going to do anything on the cyberbullying?
You know, the gentleman's the keynote speaker.
Right.
We had talked about him doing some of that, but I'm not familiar with his PowerPoints. I've never heard him before.
Right.
But I've heard excellent things about him.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I got like I've got multiple death threats online, so
Oh, okay.
you know I'm wondering if they're going to talk about that, you know, because that is violence, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, well,
domestic.
just have a seat, and then you could ask him, because he'll have some Q&A at the end.
Right.
He'll
All
be
right.
the third speaker.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Somebody was asking me, are they going to live stream this?
No.
Okay. All right. Are these free?
No, they're not. But
I'm sorry. I thought they were free. Sorry. I'll put it back.
Well, we want to make sure she has pens to write. You're all nice.
Okay, that's fine. I thought it was free.
That's okay.
Captain Chandler from Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, and here for the sheriff, Bill Camel. And I appreciate you folks' concern for time for coming out to this particular evening event. Before we get started, if we could, please, if you folks, I know this is a common practice at our office, and I would ask you to do the same. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance before we get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much. There are going to be several speakers this evening. One to start off this particular program is Jill Phillips. She was formerly an employee of the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office and now works for the court here for the Center for Rape Emergencies, for the Center of Abuse and Rape Emergencies. Jill will educate us on what our local care office does for our community currently. Jill?
Some of you may know me. I've been speaking for years. Over 20 years at the Sheriff's Office, I've recognized most of the faces. Thank you for coming. Domestic violence is so important. It's so important in Charlotte County. And I would love the opportunity to share with you what CARE does. Many of you know of CARE, the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. But many of you may not know all that CARE is. I'm a community prevention and awareness coordinator here. Part-time, but I retired. However, CARE is a nonprofit organization that I truly believe in, and it's been serving Charlotte County. Can you tell me how long? Believe in, and it's been serving Charlotte County. Can you tell me how long? Take a guess. 80? No, over 35 years. That's a long time. It was established in 1983 as just a rape emergencies, and then in 1985, with the influx of calls to the crisis line for domestic violence, they changed the name to what it is today. What we do is we help victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and all other violent crimes. Our mission is to foster cooperation among agencies so there's no duplication of effort with people and businesses that are involved with the victims of crime, seeking to avoid duplication of services and to give aid. Presently, we have advocates, victim advocates, in the domestic violence unit that was just established by Sheriff Permel. We have one in DCF, the Department of Children and Families. We have an advocate located in Punta Gorda in the Office of the Attorney General. We have one at the Punta Gorda PD. The primary goal of the Victims Advocate is to provide support to victims and survivors with information and referrals. Information and referrals. We need to remember that domestic violence is all about power and control, right? Power and control, all the heads should be going right. Confidentiality is paramount. As advocates, we focus on listening, believing, and supporting decisions made not by us telling the victims what to do and where to go and how to do this, but they're decisions that the victims make on their own just based on information and referrals that we give them, so they can make judgment on their own terms, not on my terms. What may be good for me or what I may think they should do may not be working for them at the time. We make every effort to empower the victim to take back that power and that control of their own lives. And that is so important. That's the only way they're going to move forward, is they have to take control. If you've seen some of the quotes and some of the calls that come in, it's sad and it's scary. Our executive director, Karen, has a folder, and we labeled it Goosebumps, because some of the statements that are made literally give you goosebumps. When you hear about, I'm so scared, he has a gun under his pillow, and every night he reminds me there's one bullet in there and that bullet's for me. Sad. And it's happening. And we don't know half of it in Charlotte County. All of the victim advocates are certified through Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Florida Council of Sexual Violence. We have care offices where you can come and talk to an advocate. We have one in Punta Gorda, we have one in Englewood, and we have one located within the crime prevention office for the sheriff's office at the Town Center Mall. So we have those 3 locations that you can go to. Volunteers play an integral part in care. They work directly with the victims by answering crisis calls, supporting victims in hospitals. We do hospital response 24/7, and perform services needed to support the participants. Volunteers receive the same extensive training as employed advocates. They have to. They can't just be someone who comes in and takes our place if we're out on vacation. They have to have privilege. They have to know confidentiality. They have to be trained specifically for domestic violence and or sexual issues. We do have volunteer opportunities at CARE that is like an indirect service that some of you may be interested in. Doesn't require quite as much training. For example, we have pet foster care. We cannot take children. We take children, we can't take the pets, even though they call them their children. We can do community events. We ask you to help us out with community events. Assisting at our reuse stores. We have 2 reuse stores, one in Englewood and one in Port Charlotte. All items donated there. The monies go to CARE for other services that we offer. We also open up those facilities to our participants to go and get free items, especially when they're in transitional housing. In 2018, domestic violence hotline calls to CARE in Charlotte County increased by 15.5% over 2017. Sexual assault is 14.7% during the same period of time. Presently in our shelter, we have 6 adults and 4 children. In 2017, we had 41 children that we had in the shelter. In 2018, 79. In 2017, we had 48 adults that we sheltered in place. In 2018, we had 65. What does that tell us? The program the sheriff is instituting is needed. We need to get the word out. Prevention and awareness is so important. Some of the services that CARE offers that you may not be aware of, some of them you may. We have a 24-hour hotline, just like the call center at the sheriff's office, 24/7, 365, where anybody that calls our hotline gets a real person, a real certified advocate to talk to. We also have a hospital response team on call out. We offer multilingual assistance as well as hearing and speech impaired assistance. We have a safe haven emergency shelter, which is free emergency shelter for you and your children in a non-violent, safe setting. Now, what people don't realize is that we take in a family, or we take in one person. We supply them with clothing, food, we take them to their medical appointments, everything. It's all a free service for those people. We also have relocation assistance when appropriate. We do a lot of safety planning for leaving or living safely. No matter who calls or when they call, even if they decide they do not want or need to talk to us, we make sure that we touch on safety planning for leaving or living safely. You know, leaving is always dangerous when it's a domestic situation, always dangerous. Safely leaving is the goal. CARE can help them leave, or if they decide, and remember what, the choice is theirs, no matter what we think, the choice is theirs to stay home, so we help them to stay home and stay safe at home as best we can until they make a decision otherwise. We do court accompaniment, so if the man or woman has to go into court, we go with them. We have one-to-one supportive assistance. You can call at any time. You all could call, even if it's to someone else. And we'll talk to you. We'll make an appointment. You come in. Everything, we have privilege. Everything is totally confidential. We can't tell anybody you're there, that you've been there, or that you left. We do victim advocacy. We do assistance with crime victims' compensation. And that comes in a lot when, especially with our seniors, when they've had issues, and it may have turned out that there's, exploitation or whatever. We try to help with that. And one of the most important things, because this is a big thing in Charlotte County, is we help you coordinate services. I was just talking to a member of the Sheriff's Office, new member today, and she said the biggest problem she has is knowing where the services are. So we help them to coordinate services. And while I'm talking about that, 211, we answer their calls from 5 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Friday, weekends and holidays. So when you call 211 during those times, you're going to get someone from CARE, an advocate. We provide, and this is something that I'm sure, if you know it, I want you to raise your hand afterwards. We provide free services for family members and significant others of survivors. This service is designed to support and give information for loved ones to assist crime victims during the healing process. How many of you knew that if your daughter or your son or someone had gone through a domestic issue or sexual assault, that we offer you help so that you can learn how to help them? Because many times the loved ones at home lost. They have no idea, what do I do now? He's in his room or she's in the room. She doesn't talk to us. We can't have her open up. What do we do? Help is available at CARE. No one has the right to hurt or abuse you. Absolutely no one, not for any reason. All of our services and programs provided by CARE are supported by financial contributions from individual donors, in-kind donations, legacy gifts, city and county governments. Both of our Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence, I have to read that one because I get them totally confused. DCF and the Florida Department of Health. Those are just a few that keep us up and running through donations. All funds that come to us are used specifically in Charlotte County. Now, Charlotte County has proudly supported this homegrown grassroots organization which serves to help people who are hurting to heal and thrive. Charlotte County is CARE. Thank you so much. Any questions? I have about 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to let it go on now, and I hope that if you have any questions, there's brochures in the back. Please help yourself, pick them up, and know that we're there for you no matter what. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Dale. And for you folks, our next speaker is Detective Permel. He's assigned to a team here at the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office in domestic violence. He'll be giving you some information on his role and the team that he works with. Detective Permel.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. As he said, I'm Billy Permel. I'm a deputy with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, specifically in the investigative unit, and specializing in domestic violence. The unit was just brought up and running October of 18. With the help of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, we were able to create this unit. It consists of myself, a care advocate. We have a care advocate stationed at my office, and then a civilian analyst who compiles a lot of data and brings it to my attention. In the months that we've had the unit, I have probably occurred about 10 to 20 cases a week where I've reached out to, in most cases, both parties involved in domestic violence issues, trying to identify problems in their relationship that's causing the violence, whether it's infidelities, substance abuse, financial means, and with the help of care and other services offered at the Sheriff's Office, try and better their situation, stop the violence from happening. If that's not working, obviously we take legal means. I'm working closely with the State Attorney's Office to strengthen cases which require us to take law enforcement action and make arrests so that the violence stops. Present better cases to the State Attorney's Office, and they can do their job better, and the victim can be safe. I don't speak a lot in public, not like my dad. So, we work very closely together. Dale said a lot when she was talking about the advocates. They are a huge help, and having the advocate that's assigned to our unit in the office with me has encouraged victims to come forward with more information after the fact, to make cases better, and to get us involved with their families and their lives, and make, ultimately, their lives as a whole better. As a member of the investigative unit, which I've been a member for several years, just not specifying in domestic violence, I've been able to use a lot of the skills I've gathered, whether it's interviewing skills or with technology, to make cases better as well. There's a lot of situations that are brought to deputies' attention that just seems very minor. I speak to them after the fact, and it's much more than that. It's an ongoing stalking issue, cyber stalking issue. We've had several cases where it seemed like, oh, he's just blowing up her phone, you need to get a restraining order to make it stop. Well, it's constant, it's repeat, and we're able to develop cases and make it stop, and that's what we want. We want a better life for the victim and make it stop. The advocate is a great help in integrating the services and connecting them either with myself or other people that are out there to help. But the cases that have been worked by our unit in conjunction with the State Attorney's Office, their pointers and what they're looking for to make stronger cases has grown, and we've got nothing but positive feedback since this unit has been integrated. And it's a problem. Dale gave you those numbers. Domestic violence is a problem, and we hope to stop it, and hopefully with the man hours put in by the three of us now, specifying and focusing on domestic violence, it will lower, it will stop, and we can make people's lives better. So that's all I really have. I'm going to leave it to Captain Chandler and Jerry here to talk more. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. To give you some information about that, Dale obviously did have a lot to say, Detective Permel. The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, for one, I've lived here in Charlotte County most of my life, certainly my whole adult life. I'll just say I moved here when I was 6 years old. And I got to see this county when I first moved here as a retirement community for the most part. And I think everyone that's here probably knows that had spent any time in Charlotte County. And I did, even as a youngster and a young adult, watch it grow. And I think that this particular office of the sheriff and law enforcement in general in Charlotte County is blessed in the fact that it was that. a retirement community. And what I mean by that is you see what happens around us in different communities. The clientele for problems were not here for many, many years. And the county, the administrators, the sheriff's offices in past and present have had the ability to stay ahead of crime, I believe, and keep it under control as much as possible, certainly more than those that are out of control. And if you know anything about history and you look back in time, we were once called peace officers. I think over time that transitioned more into police officers because we were reactive and we weren't proactive, or we weren't trying more prevention, only because we were called upon and our numbers were few. To take the time to take members and specifically assign them in these areas, if we can find the cause and effect and stop it before it gets started, that's the cure, the true definition of the cure. And it's difficult and it's expensive, but it has to be done, because just police work's not going to get it done. Putting the bad guy in jail in a revolving door, is, in a sense, is not going to get it done. So I think the office as someone that lives within the county, and I think the people that are involved and certainly care in those particular entities. So with that, we're going to move on to our keynote speaker, and this is Jerry Bevan, Law Enforcement Specialist for Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. He's joining us this evening, and he'll fill us in on current trends and ways to protect yourself. Jerry?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me without the microphone? Yes. Even in the back? Good, because I hate being tied to a podium or using a handheld microphone. As the captain said, my name is Jerry Bevan. I am the Law Enforcement Program Specialist with the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Part of my duties with the coalition is I go to grant agencies, which Charlotte County received one of our grants in October, and I've been helping them. We come here, we put on trainings. Probably April, May, or June, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in an international speaker to train all of the patrol officers with Charlotte County. Basically, anybody who carries a gun will get domestic violence training. That's also going to be opened up to community groups. So once we get the flyer and ready to send out, you guys are more than welcome to come attend. It's going to be a 4-hour class. We're going to do it on 2 days and have 2 classes each day. That way you can either come to the morning or afternoon session. And I can tell you, part of my background is I was in law enforcement. I retired from the Marion County Sheriff's Office, about 2.5 hours, 3 hours north of here. I was there for about 28 years. The last 10 years I was in major crimes as a sergeant over the Special Victims Unit. So I can tell you that when I first saw this presenter present, probably this past last January, I forgot we're in 2019 already. Last January, I went through all the cases in my head that I totally messed up, that I totally did wrong. And it's not that I was doing them poorly, but that's how law enforcement was trained. So part of my job is to get law enforcement and the community to look at domestic violence in a different light. To look at it as more than, I'm not worried about what happened the past 6 months, I need to know right now. Domestic violence is something that happens over years, over months, sometimes over decades with survivors. As Dale mentioned, when a survivor decides to leave a relationship, a domestic violence relationship, that's the most deadliest time. They're 7 times more likely to be killed when they're leaving than any other time in the relationship. The unfortunate part is now you can't turn on the news or read the newspaper without seeing a report of one intimate partner committing a homicide against the other intimate partner. When I started 30 years ago now at the Marion County Sheriff's Office, when we saw that, it was mainly husband and wife, homicide, suicide. The trend I've noticed in the past couple of years, unfortunately, now they're killing children. So one of the main things that we try to do with the coalition is to prevent that intimate partner homicide through training, through patrol, training through different staff members, training, for advocates, as Dale said, and community partner training. She mentioned that their services have gone up, and it's not because more people are being battered in Charlotte County. It's because I feel that the information is getting out there. People are now confident in law enforcement and care to actually believe that they're going to help them. So, we always tell agencies, when they get our grant and start doing community presentations, you're going to see your numbers go up, which is a good thing. Because as we know, domestic violence has always been here. It's just now we're trying to shine a light on it and stop it. Like I said, stopping the homicides. So one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is technology and domestic violence. Has anybody ever had a technology or safety presentation? Does everybody have a smartphone? Everybody loves their smartphone, right? By the end of the class, you're probably not going to want your smartphone. Part of my duties with the Sheriff's Office in Marion County, like I said, was in some Special Victims Unit. The last year I was there, I was assigned to the Internet Crimes Against Children's Unit. We did child pornography and we did a lot of internet investigations, seizing computers, doing forensics on computers and phones. And that's when I realized I knew nothing about cell phones, nothing about computers, because there's so much involved. Normally this presentation is about 3 hours long, so we'll try to have you guys out of here by about 9:30. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. The big thing about technology is don't be afraid of it, because if you're afraid of it, you're not going to use it, you're not going to use it correctly, and that's when it can come back to bite you. So we're going to start off with a video about cyber stalking.
The dark side of social media, and one woman's nightmarish struggle over several years to elude her stalker. Hers is a chilling case, starting with the way she was approached with a friend request on Facebook from a former college classmate. Their interaction quickly took a disturbing turn, and then, as the ominous tweets and YouTube posts piled up, it took over her life. Here's ABC's Andrea Camp.
Please just listen to me and let me be nice. We need to talk face to face.
The videos are disturbing and terrifying.
That's a very unwise decision. It's up to you now. Save your own life.
Patrick Michoni posted dozens of threatening tirades on YouTube.
You stupid, ungrateful piece of...
all directed at one woman.
In sickness and in health, until the day you die.
His obsession, former college student Kristen Pratt.
It stops you in your tracks. Just kills you emotionally.
For 3 years, Patrick Michoni used social media as his weapon, cyber stalking Pratt through YouTube. Messages like these: I want to tie your wrists together. I'm going to follow you home from work. And tweets like this one: it is up to you now to save your life. I have no options. Not to mention dozens of phone calls a day. Pratt worried for her life.
Describe what that's like to be paranoid 24 hours a day. Makes you question the world around you, and it instills fear.
Would you check the shower? Would you check the closet?
Oh yeah, I would check all the time. I used to have dreams that he found out where I lived and broke into my house and waited until I went to sleep and would kill me.
It all began out of the blue in 2008 when Michoni contacted Pratt, then 19 years old, on Facebook, reminding her they had taken a class together 2 years earlier at a community college. They had never even officially met. She says the conversation was initially polite.
You were innocently responding to him, thinking could be a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But about a half dozen messages later, things quickly turned frightening.
They were more sexually oriented and a little bit more deranged. Stuff about how he wanted to kill me before I kill him. Or he would break my neck and my boyfriend's neck.
The stalking only escalated.
You're still playing games!
In this video, you can see Michoni videotaping himself in front of Pratt's work. She then drives by, not even knowing he's there. He chases her. Pratt was told outside of a restraining order there was little she could do, until a police officer arrested Michoni for prowling at another apartment complex.
We asked if he could check Patrick's backpack. And in the backpack was a sexual device, condoms, porn, and a video camera.
Michoni was finally charged with cyber stalking, and last week, Pratt faced him in court.
I was always nervous and frightened that at any moment I could walk out of the building and nobody would ever see me again.
What was it like having to be face to face with this man?
You're still playing games!
Really scary. I was breathless. It took my breath away. I couldn't breathe.
You can't keep ignoring him. You can't.
Michoni was convicted of cyber stalking. He took a plea deal. The prosecution asked for 15 years, arguing Michoni is a danger to society if released too soon from prison.
I know what's going to happen. He will kill her.
The defense painted a picture of a once bright and promising student with a college scholarship who went on a downward spiral, a man who needs medical help, not prison time. Michonne, now 24 years old, admitted in court he has problems.
I want to apologize to her definitely for scaring her. I don't remember, like, any of those emails I didn't. I mean, obviously, you're not making it up.
The judge gave Michonne 4 years. He will be out in just 2 for time served.
He made it a point to say it was because this is Patrick's first offense. He hasn't harmed me. I'm still alive. But I'm not alive because Patrick didn't want to hurt me. I'm alive because I made sure I stayed alive.
Why do you think the judge didn't side with the prosecution, only giving 4 years versus 15, which is what they wanted, it's just a fraction?
Stalking cases and cyber stalking cases still aren't treated in the same way by the law as an actual assault. But in this case, the judge would say, well, I've taken away his weapon, and that is access to a computer. Because for 15 years, he's on probation. Uses that computer in that 15-year period, he's going to have to serve the whole sentence. Please, this isn't a game.
As for Kristen Pratt, her biggest fear is when Michonne is released from prison in 2 years.
Don't tell me I shouldn't be angry.
The judge has ordered he will forcibly have his medication injected because of his lack of cooperation. But she says the nightmare will never be over.
Are you going to live the rest of your life looking over your shoulder in fear?
Of course, always. There will never be a day when I'll be able to walk down the street without worrying that he's behind me.
For Nightline, I'm Andrea Canning in New York.
So what do you think about that? 4 years? Is that enough?
The dark side of social media.
Did you hear the one thing he said at the very beginning? It kind of sounded like the wedding vows. You know, we'll have it to hold until you die. He's not going to stop until he ends up killing her one day. You know, the judge is going to have his, I guess, his medication injected, and the judge felt that he took away his voice by taking away his computer access. Can someone get on the computer if they want to? Any of you ever have any teenage sons? Yeah, I tried to do the same thing, take away my son's computer. That didn't work. He found a way. You know, you've got libraries, you've got friends, you've got cell phones now. You can go to McDonald's on the public Wi-Fi. Can't be traced. If we trace it, it'll go back to McDonald's. So, you know, there are a lot of different things that they can do to get around that order. One of the things is cell phone monitoring, caller ID spoofing. Man, I wish I had more time. Normally, with caller ID spoofing, what that is I have an app on my cell phone. I can put in your phone number, and I can put in a phone number of someone that's in your cell phone, and when your phone rings from me, it will show the other person come up. That's it. Well, you know what? Does anybody want to help?
I'll do it. Can you say that again, sir? Explain it.
Actually, I will just show you because it's a lot easier that way. It's called, it's a free app, caller ID faking. Who wants to help? Do you have someone in your cell phone that has a picture when their phone number, when that pops up on the phone ring?
Yes.
Okay. What is your phone number? Okay. Do you know the other phone number? And I mean, I know my wife's phone number. That's the only phone I know. So it'd be so bad if I lost my phone. What's his number?
315
Mm-hmm.
242
Okay.
0291.
Okay. So what I did is I put in his phone number under number to call, and I put his son's number under fake caller ID. And then I hit done, and then I hit call. And it's calling a number out of Arizona, and his phone will ring, and his son's picture will pop up.
No service.
No service. No service. already have service?
She does.
Oh, but I
Yeah.
I can't help you, I don't have anybody who's.
Oh, okay.
I have service.
All right, what's your number?
941
Uh-huh.
0023.
And what's the other person's number?
What's your name? 862-999-7735.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, I'm gonna call you and her number will pop up on the caller ID.
Now, it doesn't have a picture, but it's got her phone number.
Okay. So if you could show her number showed up, because my phone's an 850 number out of Tallahassee. So right now it's showing that your friend is calling you.
Yeah.
So if you answer it, go ahead and answer it. Hello? Hey.
That's you?
That's me. But, now, when we disconnect, look in your recent calls and tell me who's the last person to call you. It's going to be her friend.
It's her phone number.
So if someone calls you harassing you using this app and you call law enforcement and show them your phone, can't follow it because her number showed up. That's caller ID spoofing. They can also do it with text messages. And if they pull the records from the phone company, it's going to look like she called. And then if you say I'm your suspect and they come and look at my phone, I didn't call her. The only person I called last was a 321 number in Florida. And before that it was in Arizona. There's no record of me calling her. Because your phone number, your phone call will go through their servers. They'll attach the other caller ID, the other phone number as caller ID when it calls you. Have you ever gotten a phone call from some of these people trying to sell you something with your area code?
Or yourself?
All the time. That's exactly what they're doing. They're using your area code and usually the first 3 digits of your actual phone number and then last 4 digits of whoever else. So you look at it and go, oh, it's local, maybe I know them, and you'll answer the phone. That's caller ID spoofing. Unfortunately, suspects are now learning this, and like I said, free app, I didn't pay a dime for it. All I had to do was go in and watch a couple videos and you get minutes added to the app. It's as easy as that. And then there's really no record that the suspect called.
Why would that app exist? For the criminals?
For fun. It's put out there as, you know, have fun with your friends, you know. You'd be surprised. Yeah. Cell phone spyware. There's spyware out there that can be installed on a cell phone. They actually have to have access to the cell phone, but only for maybe about a minute or 2 to download the software. And then what it does is it runs in the background. You can't even tell the app's on the phone. Everything you do on your cell phone will go to a website, and then the suspect, all he has to do is log in, and there's all this information. You got your location history. They'll get every email you sent, every text message you sent, incoming, outgoing phone calls. Anything you do on your cell phone, they'll have access to it. Yes, ma'am?
Any idea if they have to have your security code to do that?
They have to have access to your phone. So if it's an intimate partner situation, normally they know each other's passwords to their phones. So, you know, if say the suspect finds the survivor's phone, say she's in the shower, like I said, what he does is they go to the website on a computer and they set up the account, and then all they do is when they get the phone, they go to that website, type in their number, and download an app, and you can't even find it on the phone. It's not going to be listed anywhere on the home screen. The only thing you're going to notice is you're going to have usually power drain, because for every text message you sent, it's also sending one to the website. So there's going to be a lot of power drain going on. The computer or the phone's going to run a lot slower. But like I said, you know, they have access to everything you do on your cell phone. And one thing about cell phones is they keep track of everything you do. Really, the only way to delete everything on the phone is either to factory reset it, or do what we call do a Tom Brady, where you break it in half and smash it with a hammer before you give it to the NFL. As you can tell, I'm not a Patriots fan, sorry.
Sorry, Jim.
I know you're a Patriots fan. Well, you know what, at least they're in the playoffs, unlike the Dolphins. I'm not sure if they'll ever make it again. But like I said, with these apps, there's a couple of them out there. They usually charge $30 to $40 a month access fee. But like I said, if someone really wants to track you or know everything that you're doing or everything that the infant partner's doing, it'd be worth $30, $40 to them. This can be considered illegal. It could be a violation of the Wire Fraud Act. So, it all depends on how it's spun. The problem with, yes ma'am?
And how, if you would suspect that somebody had done that to you, how would you find it on your phone?
You could take the phone to law enforcement, and they could download the phone using some type of forensic software like Celebrate, and it should come up there. I know some people will take it to their local T-Mobile store, Verizon store, but chances are they're probably not going to find it. They'll probably just say, well, your phone's running slow, so what we'll do is we'll sell you a new cell phone for $1,000, and we'll transfer everything over to your new phone. But what happens? Spyware gets transferred over too. So, I would say if it's suspected, get with your local law enforcement agency and see if they can download the phone for you. See if that's something they can do. Anybody use family location apps? I know I did mine when I had kids. When my kids were younger, I put it on their phones. Bad part about that is I can see where they're at, but they can also see where you're at. So, I think my daughter, oh, you came in at 11 last night. Well, Dad, you came in at 2:30 the other morning. all right, let's remember who's the those can also be used by a suspect. Like I said, if you're in an intimate partner relationship with someone for a long time, chances are you know their passwords. If you don't, you could probably figure them out. Most people are creatures of habit. If you know one of my passwords, you know them all, because I have too many accounts to have 15 different passwords, or like on the computer, and I have to change it every 90 days, just the number at the end goes up. I don't have time to sit there, or a lot of people write them down and leave them right there by the computer. So. Anybody ever have Google? Well, is everybody retired here? Okay, so you probably don't have Google until you have 15 minutes to get to work then when you're walking out the door. I was retired for 2 weeks and couldn't stand it, so I had to deal with back to FCADV. But what Google does is Google will track your movements, and it stores all that information. So if you take the same route every day, going to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, going to work, and then coming back home that afternoon, when you get ready to leave the house, it will actually look at the traffic patterns for you, and it will see if there's an accident, if it's going to take you longer, and give you an alternate route. Like I said, one thing I always like to talk about in presentations is a lot of these things were made to help us, but where an application was made to help somebody, someone has taken that application and turned it against them. This is just talking about turning off your location history. You can turn that setting off in Google Maps. I actually turned that off on my work phone because I don't really want them to know exactly when I get to places. Yeah. So, you can turn that location history off. The bad thing is if you turn it off, one thing I found out, I went, I think, to Miami, checked into the hotel, went somewhere, and then pulled up my phone to go back to the hotel in Miami, and it wasn't there because my location was turned off. So, once again, good things, bad things. If you feel someone is stalking you or following you, this would be a good thing to do, because if they've gotten into your Google Plus account or know your Google password, they can have this email to them every month. Has anybody ever gotten one of these emails from Google saying, hey, this is the places you've been in the last month? I got one probably about 1.5 years ago, and it freaked me out. That's when I realized that this location history, I mean, it's old. Everywhere I've been for the past month, and it sent me a map. So, like I said, it kind of freaked me out. But that's...
Would also be good, though, for prosecution?
It could. This would be great for prosecution if, say, we have a suspect who was stalking someone and following them around, and there was enough evidence to get the phone and download it. We could get all this information. Or they could do a subpoena or search warrant to Google and get that kind of information. So yeah, I mean, it was used for a good thing. The suspect could use it for a bad thing, but then law enforcement could turn around and use that same information against the suspect. So it kind of goes both ways. Okay, so there's it. It will take you 16 minutes to get to work. GPS and location. GPS trackers, in the old days, I say in the old days when I started at the sheriff's office in '90, they were, this big, had 4 big magnets, we slap them under a car. Now, I saw you looking at your watch, you must have a smartwatch or a tracker. GPS is in everything, cell phones, watches, a lot of cars have GPS. Also, a lot of people don't know, if you buy a used car, an older car, from some of these smaller automotive places, they'll actually install a GPS in your car. That way, if you don't pay your bill, they'll turn it on and they know exactly where you're at, so they can come get the car.
That's legal?
It's legal, because they technically still own the car because it's not paid for yet. If it's a buy here, pay here place, there's a good chance there's probably a GPS in that car that you bought. Usually they're not active because they have to pay for that if it's active, but if you don't pay your bill for a couple months, they'll definitely activate it and come take your car in the middle of the night. So, GPSs now are getting smaller and smaller. You can buy a GPS, the tracker, it's about the size of a quarter. So if, say, a survivor is being followed by the suspect, they could have one of these devices anywhere on the vehicle. Some of the suspects, what they would do if they had small children that they would transfer back and forth with a car seat, you could hide one of these in a car seat, probably never find it unless you really tore the car seat apart, and know exactly where the survivor was at all times because of the tracker. Some of them, they plug into the computer console under the dashboard. They use those to give you information on the car, is your car acting right, is your warning lights come on. A lot of companies use them, a lot of people buy them for their kids because they can tell the speed they were going, was there a quick brake or a quick acceleration. Like I said, those of us with teenagers, that would have been a great one. Mine was a teenager. But, once again, it's GPS. So if they have access to the car, they can plug it in, come back in a week or two, unplug it, plug it into their computer, and see everywhere that car's been. They now have them where it looks like it's actually a charging cord for your cell phone. So a survivor, if she's at the suspect's house trading kids, the cord on my cell phone went out, I gotta buy a new one. Oh, here, just take mine. And it's a GPS. So all he does is get access to it, and he can pull out the little SD card and figure out everywhere that car's been for however long. Geotagging. On your cell phones, there is information. It's called EXIF data. In every digital photo that's taken, there can be location, there can be the camera type, the cell phone type, and all that information. Has anybody ever heard of that? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a picture of the audience, because I have it turned on this phone. And then all you do is go to details, and it will give the exact location where this photo was taken. So now if, say, I upload this photo or I email it to somebody, they know all they have to do is take this photo and drop it in a free app that you can get, and it will tell you exactly where the photo was taken. This came about in about 2010. Guy by the name of Adam Savage was a TV star. He took a photo of his Jeep in front of his house and said, "Oh, I'm going to work on my new Jeep." About 2 hours later, he had a bunch of fans at his house. And that's when they said, "Oh yeah, man, the photo you took and posted on Facebook, yeah, we just put it in this free program and we got your address." So the large companies now like Facebook, Instagram, when you upload a photo, they scrub all that data off of it. So if that data is on the picture initially, once it gets to Facebook, it's all taken off. Now, smaller companies, Snapchat, some of the smaller messaging apps, that information is probably still there. So you either get to that information through the actual camera app. With mine, I just go to the camera app, and there's that little wheel at the top, and then you just scroll down to location tags. For some reason, whenever you buy a cell phone, it's always on. So this is the first thing I do with my personal cell phone, is I go into that app and I turn it off. With iPhones, I think you have to actually go into settings.
You must be lucky Samsung or Android.
I am. iPhone? you go into settings under your phone app, it's either under phone app or location, you should be able to turn that off. Yeah, location services, and go to camera and turn it off. If you don't know how to do it, all you have to do is Google, turn off location services or geotag to whatever kind of phone you have, put that in Google, and it will pop up and show you how to do it. This is just a photo I took for another class to show that, you know, with this kind of stuff on, it tells you exactly where you're at. Surveillance, you know, back in the day you had the big surveillance cameras everywhere. Now everything is pinhole camera. I could be wearing a pinhole camera in a pin, have it in my pocket, walking around, video recording everybody, and you'd never even know it. They come in teddy bears, phones, clock radios. So one of the things that we like to tell advocates to talk to survivors about is, if you receive a gift from the suspect, make sure you check it, no matter what it is. Because cameras nowadays, like I said, in the little pinholes, if you weren't looking for it, you'd never even see it. Sometimes if you are looking for it, you're never going to see it because they're so small. Especially if you have bad eyesight like I do. But, you know, have them check for that stuff. If they're not sure, then they need to get rid of it. If they feel they're being stalked or pursued by a suspect. Can come in the little cell phone charger you plug into the wall. A lot of them have, some of them are Wi-Fi enabled, so that way they can send a picture through Wi-Fi. So if he's down the street, if the suspect's down the street, they can get that feed live. Some of them have an SD card in them that will hold information a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And all they have to do is, when the survivor's at work, break into the house, change out SD cards, and now they can see everything that's happened in the house for the past couple of weeks. Most of them nowadays, they don't record unless there's movement. They're movement activated. So they're only going to report if somebody's in the house. So. Social media. See, we got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. Does everybody know about Snapchat? Everybody heard about Snapchat? Snapchat is basically, you can send a photo and have it disappear within like 8 to 10 seconds when you send it to someone. It used to be, if you took a screenshot of it, they'd never know, but now they have that in there where if someone takes a screenshot of a picture in Snapchat, it will alert the other person, but by then it's too late. Or if you have a second phone, just take a picture of it. The unfortunate part is, kids nowadays, you know, 5, 6 years ago, you know, they'll send, you know, risque photos like that, and thinking, oh, they're only going to see it for 5 or 6 seconds and it's going to disappear. No. You know, like I told my kids, you know, anybody come in contact with, once it hits the internet, it's there forever. You could go on 2 minutes later and delete it. Somebody's already seen it. Somebody's already screen captured it. There's also sites out there that will actually store the historical data. You can go into the site and basically look up, you know, what was on YouTube in 2017 on September 8th. And it will pull up all the videos, pull up all the information that was on there. Because that's what they're doing screen grabs of all that information. This is another video we don't really have time for. Using social media to stalk and harass. If you think somebody is stalking you, if you take photos, don't include any type of identifying landmarks. There are programs out there where you can take a photo with an unknown landmark, drop it in, and it will tell you what that landmark is and where the photo was taken, even without the data. It reads the photo and it has a database of probably billions of images, and it will compare it that quickly to find out where that landmark is. You don't want to check in somewhere. A lot of people on Facebook like to check in. I'm here, like to take photos of what they're eating, hanging out with friends, get tagged in photos by other friends. You want to make sure they avoid that. The unfortunate part is, you know, when you have a survivor and a suspect, sometimes the survivor has to take steps to limit their exposure. And unfortunately that may be to, you know, we're not saying stay off the internet, we're not saying to stay out of Facebook. There are some survivors who actually tell us that they will go onto their suspect's website or their Facebook page, see what kind of mood they're in. If the suspect's in a bad mood that morning, then they know they're probably gonna catch it either later on by a phone call, text messages, or something like that. So, you know, they use that for their own safety. But we also want them to be cognizant of what they're doing and the information they're putting out there, so somebody can't follow them or stalk them or harass them. You want to be careful also on Facebook. My wife was notorious for this. Someone would send her a friend request and she'd accept it. And I'm like, I had to finally tell her, don't do that. You know, we had to go in, delete everybody she didn't know because she thought, oh, I'm going to be popular. No, it's just, if you're friends with someone and you've blocked a stalker and the stalker becomes friends with your friends, they can see what you're doing just through that friendship. So you have to be very careful if you're in that situation of who you allow in, even close friends. Because like I said, if they're friends with the stalker, if they're like my wife, she'll definitely accept their friend request. And then now they can see everything, not everything, but they have access to your page too and can see what you're doing, where you're going, when you're out with friends, and things of that nature. So is a survivor who does not use social media safer than a survivor who does? Not necessarily. Like I said earlier, a lot of survivors will use that just to gauge the mood that their stalker is in, which is a good thing. If you're ever in a situation with stalking, this is an incident log. If you grab one of the books back there, they're in the back, there's several pages of them. If you have a friend that you feel maybe in a stalking situation, give them the book, have them contact the sheriff's office. The bad thing about technology is advancing way faster than the laws that can keep up with them. When I started my career, if I worked a stalking case, it was because someone left a note on someone's car, put a note in the mailbox, sent them a note through mail. Now, as you saw in the video earlier, that guy was harassing and threatening to kill her. He could have been on the other side of the country, but the victim doesn't know that. They don't know where this person is. This person could be around the corner, as we saw in the one video. He was out there and she drove by, didn't even see him. So, some of the safety planning techniques: turn off the location services for GPS. I recommend that anyway, especially with kids. As we all know, kids are notorious for taking selfies and posting them online somewhere. If they have that location service on, you could have a predator out there that could get that photo if it's the right service and find out exactly where they live. Don't post photographs of a new residence or their neighborhood. Be careful about posting locations when they're out shopping or eating or hanging out with friends. And don't answer calls with unknown numbers. As you saw earlier, it could be a known number and it could still be somebody stalking you, and there's really no record that it happened. But definitely, if you don't know the number coming in, even if it's a local number, I would recommend not even answering it. Chances are it's a telemarketer. Don't answer known numbers if they call at unusual times. And be mindful of any new electronics or presence that come from the offender. As we saw, there can be a GPS chip in it, there can be a pinhole camera in it. And once again, if their phone is using more data or batteries draining quickly, let a professional review it for spyware. Because like I said, with spyware, you're not even going to find it in your apps list. There are certain keystrokes you have to do on the cell phone, and then it will bring the spyware up. So just by looking through it, you're not going to find it. And once again, educate yourself with technology. I know I ran through this very quickly. Normally this is about a 3 or 4 hour presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact the sheriff's office, contact Billy, contact Ms. Wilkie. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the internet part, okay, what if it's not a domestic? I'm a reporter for Copwatch. I had a cop's wife make a death threat against me and my family on Facebook. What can I do about that?
Contact the sheriff's office and have it investigated.
Okay, so that can be a regular investigation, not IA. It can be a regular possible criminal threat.
Well, it depends what the threat was.
Right.
It would only be internal affairs if the actual employee was involved.
He made a comment on it. He liked it.
Like like I said, I can't really comment because I don't know everything that's going on, but
Right.
what I recommend is calling the local law enforcement and having it investigated.
All right, fair?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but did you talk about how you take a picture with your cell phone, all the information's embedded in
Yeah, and, you know, that's one of the location services that we talked about turning off. You know, that's one of the things, for some reason, all cell phones, when they're brand new, they come with that turned on. I don't know why. I wish they would turn it off, because, you know, people who don't know about it are taking photos. The way I first found out about it is, one of the phones I had several years ago, I was taking photos, and then after about a month, it popped up a map and showed every photo, like in different cities where I was taking them, and I was like, how does it know that? Well, because of the location data. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Would having an antivirus on your phone stop that spyware from being applied?
Usually not, because it doesn't see it as a virus, because it's an actual program on the phone. It's just run in a covert manner, which is the way it's supposed to run, so technically the app is running fine, and it's just sending information out. I would recommend a virus program anyway, because you can get viruses from emails if you click a link and go somewhere. But like I said, with the spyware, it's not considered a virus because that's how the app is meant to work. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of the other reasons why I came here too, I thought Billy was going to touch on it more. Is this kind of turning into Tom Cruise pre-crime where, you know, you're looking at different stuff and you think they might do something in the future? Because they were kind of talking about that on some of their promotion videos, you know, for the new unit. And I know that that's good and bad. I mean, as a quick example, I'll give you, I'm a recovering alcoholic. You know, people thought I was going to die drunk and on drugs. And guess what? I've been sober so long, it's not even ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, you know, that's what the one reason why I came here, to see if he was going to talk about that. You know, is that kind of what's happening? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, because like people can change. I am the perfect example of that. What's your opinion?
I don't really think it's pre-crime. What we're looking to do is, you know, just like in the video, when someone commits a crime and there's a law against it, they get charged for that. A lot of crimes, when someone's arrested, we have to show the intent that they committed the crime.
Correct.
Just like the guy in the video, his intent wasn't to, you know, mess around, play around with her. His intent was to cause fear in her, and that's what cyber stalking is. That's what stalking is. You have to show that there is an intent to commit fear, and there's no legitimate purpose for what you're doing. Just like in the video, there was no legitimate purpose for the way he was acting, for what he was saying. So that's why it was stalking.
Right. Well, they mentioned in their promo video that they're actually going to start going back to older cases and looking at them to see what happened in that situation. And almost, it sounded to me like go back and almost make something out of nothing, you know, on these older cases that are already done. Like I said, that's one of the reasons why I came here tonight, because the promo video was kind of talking like it was almost pre-crimes. We're going to go back to some of the old stuff and see if we missed something, or maybe we'll make, to me it was almost like make something. I'm sure that going back to some of the old cases, yes, they might have missed something, they might get but at the same time, going back to some of these old cases, I think they're almost, starting stuff when it could be fine.
Well, I can't comment on the promo video or what they're
Right.
planning on doing with that. That would be a question you have to ask
Got it.
Charlotte County. Any other questions? All right, well, unfortunately, I've kept you guys 5 minutes past 7:30, but I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. The next one's going to be about autism. So we'll get you the information and invite you again. Alzheimer's. I'm getting that myself.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah, well, I work with the autistic as well, but it is definitely Alzheimer's and dementia. Understanding. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Copwatch. I am using any video here under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.